Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the A1 Air Quality Consultants post-game call-in show, presented to you by our friends over at A1 Air Quality Consultants. Buying property, remodeling, maybe thinking about purchasing a second home or an investment property. Have A1 Air Quality Consultants perform asbestos testing before purchasing or renovating for safety of all parties involved. Give them a call or text today at 864-619-2092. That's 864-619-2092. You can also shoot them an email at a1airqualityconsultants@gmail.com. And be sure to head over to their website, a1airqualityconsultants.com, and give them a follow on social media as well. Be sure to check them out and tell them that Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent you. Let's get it. Ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome the A1 Air Quality Consultants post-game call-in show. Basketball edition is officially live. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Gamecocks fall to the Clemson Tigers. Final score of 72-67 at Littlejohn Coliseum as Clemson outscores South Carolina 49-37. In the second half, Gamecocks fall to Clemson. Their first loss of the season, 7-1. Clemson stays perfect. They move to 8-0 on the season. Guys, again, I want to say thank you to our friends over at A1 Air Quality Consultants for their love and support of the Spurs Up Show and of the A1 Air Quality Consultants postgame call-in show. Guys, that being said, we'll go ahead and open things up. Your questions, your comments, and your voicemails. Guys, admittedly, this is the first time we've done this after a basketball game, so I'm not quite exactly sure if we're going to get the same energy, the same excitement after basketball as we did football all season long. But I figured, you know what, for the rivalry game, it calls for it. So here we are talking Carolina basketball. And, guys, listen, a tough loss for South Carolina. Thought the atmosphere at Littlejohn Coliseum was good, but the Gamecocks just not enough punches in that one.
Panic Ritter.
Panic Ritter, you're on the air.
Well, first of all, Juice Wells, kiss my ass, get a haircut. You should not be welcome here. You got money. You go to a barber shop. Anyway, we did well, but my thing is we're doing well on this set of games, but SC games will be a whole lot harder. Let's hope we could do good in SC play.
Panic Ritter, well said, man. I appreciate you calling in. Good stuff from Panic Ritter. And guys, again, you know, it's it's just funny, man. We're doing a post-game call-in show on basketball, and Panic Ritter's first comments are about Juice Wells and the football team. So there you go. It kind of goes to show you what rules the roost, if you will. Either way, guys, phone line's back open, 843-790-3337. So, you know, I mentioned I posted during that game. You know, it felt like, guys, for a while there, I really thought South Carolina was in a great position to win that game because it felt like every time Clemson had a punch, South Carolina would respond, right? Clemson was never able to build any sort of lead, and just late in that game, I think you saw the energy of home field advantage. And
D-Buck, Cane Bay.
Clemson making plays really come up big. Let's jump to the phone lines here. Cane Bay, stand up. What's going on, man?
Hey, Chris, what's up, man? Glad to have a call-in show for the basketball game. Let's keep the same energy as we did during football. Man, it was fun. It's been fun watching the Gamecocks. I like what Lamont's doing. And we just took the foot off the throat on them, man. We had them. There's too many errant three-pointers, but I think we all know we live and die by them. But hey, two quick things I'll leave you with. Fear the quarters up and fuck Clemson.
I love it, man. I love it. The folks from Cane Bay always bringing the energy. Fear the quarters up. Guys, just some numbers for you. Michi Johnson, the Gamecocks leading scorer, 26 points in that game. South Carolina shot 36% from the field, which really goes to show you how poorly they shot in the second half, because South Carolina, I think, was around 42% after the first half, 33% from three, 8 turnovers. Clemson with 10. Gamecocks did get out rebounded 42-38. I thought it was very apparent Clemson had the advantage down low. give Carolina credit, give guys like DJ Mack and others a lot of credit for doing all they could, but certainly with Shiflin and PJ Hall, and you could just tell, right, Clemson had the advantage down low in the ball game. Again, Carolina 10 of 30 from three. Clemson 8 of 18 from three, 44%. A lot of that damage coming in the second half. Gamecocks were not good from the charity stripe, guys. 13 of 19 free throws, 68%. And you lost that game by 5. So,
Call from
Mark,
Mark, you're on the air.
What's going on, Chris? First of all, it's cool doing a little call-in show after the basketball game. Love the show, but
Thank you.
I think biggest thing is we can take some good things out of this. So, like I said, I mean, I'm good because I took Carolina in the point, so I mean, I won. But seriously, we pretty well controlled that game up until the end. But when you're on the road against a good team like that, you got to make free throws. And, this team's been shooting, about 78% free throws this season. And I think we were like 11 of 20 or something like that in this game. And, things like that proved to be the difference. So I think, I think there's a lot of positives, though. I think we did pretty well. We're not there yet, of course, but, they didn't blow us out the roof. And, I think we got a lot to look forward to the rest of the season.
Mike, I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much, by the way, for the kind words, and I think your analysis is spot on. I'm going to take your comments off air if you don't mind, but I do appreciate it. To his point, to echo what Mike is saying, again, I thought Gamecocks plus 10 was an easy pick. I picked the loss, and a lot of people did not like that, but I just felt like, guys, first road test, true road test for this basketball team. Clemson, give them credit. They are a good team. I think that Clemson team is probably a NCAA tournament team, Brad Brownell this year. So I think that what's weird, guys, is South Carolina beat Clemson last year. And besides the fact of feeling great because you beat your rival, like even after South Carolina beat Clemson last year, I didn't look at Gamecocks men's basketball and say, oh, they're going to be a real force, right? They're juggernauts. What I watched on the floor tonight, I think that was two good basketball teams. Like, I think the basketball in the Palmetto State is at a high level this year. I think South Carolina, it's night and day different from what we watched last year, and it's just kind of the irony that, that's the case, and you won last year but lose this year. But, I mean, guys, again, that's why I picked the loss. It's tough to go on the road and withstand the crowd and withstand the runs and basketball, right? It's such a game of runs. You saw the Gamecocks up 11 at one point, and that lead is just gone like that. And Clemson got some momentum, and they've got their crowd uplifting them. And it's why, guys, we talk about all the time. I mean, the home court advantage in college basketball, that's why you talk all the time. Like, you got to win your home games. You got to protect your floor because you know how hard it is to win on the road. So, I don't leave this game. I mean, it sucks to lose to your rival, obviously, and we all heard the Clemson chant at the end, who's your daddy, little brother, whatever. I mean, listen, Clemson, you earned the right to do it. Clemson won the basketball game, but I don't leave this game sweating it in the slightest about, is South Carolina a quality team this year? And I'm not telling you they're going to finish top half of the SEC or anything crazy, but this team is much improved from what we saw last year. Guys, phone lines are back open, 843-790-3377. That is 843-790-3377. You can call that number, text that number. You can also comment. I see our guy Bruin Nation in here. Madison Duncan's in here. Joey Smith's in here. Let's see. Jonathan Keith Phillips says, I think this should be a lesson learned. I mean, this team was picked to finish dead last in the SEC. I think we finished second in the East. Well, Jonathan Keith, I hear what you're saying. There aren't divisions in basketball. But anyways, I get what you're saying. Jacob, a loss can help. This team will learn a lot. Let's see. Chuck Burkett, too many missed threes, too many missed free throws. I mean, I thought there were some costly turnovers late as well, guys, that really, really cost South Carolina. Some sloppy play, I thought, down the stretch. Again, guys, Gamecocks, it felt like we're in control of the game. Gamecocks were in control of the game for most of the ball game and just could not hold on. Let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Billy and Greer.
Billy and Greer, you're on the air.
What's up, dude? Listen, I just wanted to vent a little bit. I'm so freaking sick of losing to Clemson in any damn thing. I wish that our athletic department would put more emphasis on beating Clemson. And I know that they're trying. It just gets frustrating. I know you know what I'm talking about. Everybody out there listening knows what I'm talking about. And it's a moral victory. They played well. You know, this basketball team is clearly much better, you're right, than they were last year, even though they won that game last year and we lost this year. It just gets frustrating. And, you know, listening to all the BS coming from all the Clemson fans, and rightfully so, we'd be, you know, hard to live with too. But, you know, this whole thing of not being able to win this Williams-Brice is just getting to me now. I'm getting old, dude. I'm in my 50s. And I just want this crap to change eventually. Shouldn't we expect more, you know, across the board outside of the women's basketball program?
Listen, I think you're 110% right. I was getting texts from buddies after the game just in regards to echoing what you're saying. And, I mean, it definitely sucks, too, when you're talking about basketball or baseball where, I mean, let's face it, right, the non-conference is what it is, and a lot of folks are basing their excitement for the season off of what happens in the rivalry game, right? Because typically it's like the first matchup in those sports where it's like, okay, let's really see what we are. And, you know, if you don't win it, it is tough to get excited about the prospects of that season. It's not the end-all, be-all, but, yeah, trust me, man, I hear what you're saying. So, I mean, it's
well, I know you recently moved up here because I've heard you on Mark Ryan's show talking about it before, okay? And you're going to get used to it, man. It gets old after a while. And, you know, I'm so freaking sick of it. And it's not that we're losing. At least in this game, we were competitive. Let's be honest. We wasn't competitive in that football game. I mean, and I know it was close and we made mistakes, but that was not a competitive football game. And, you know, there's a lot of things going on right now with South Carolina football. I get it. We got to keep recruiting. I'm not saying let's kick Beamer out of there, but we've got to get some things fixed because that schedule's not any easier. And you can't continue to recruit at a high level if you're not making a bowl every fucking year. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. And, you know, because you know what happens. Clemson, Georgia, every other school around you is going to negative recruit, and people are just not going to come there. I know everybody's talking about NIL. NIL is not going to matter. You've got to find a way to get to 6 wins. If you give these kids hope, they'll come. But if you don't, then it's over. So, you know, they've got to find a way to overcome. Anyway, listen, I appreciate you taking my call. I'm just being, it just pisses me off that we can't beat them in any damn thing. It's up for women's basketball.
Hey, that's what we're here for, man. We are here for you to vent and everybody else. And, hey, I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, man. Take care. Again, guys, that's what we're here for. We're here for you to call in. You want to vent. You want to let it all out. You can do so. And I feel like that was some frustration built up, not just from this basketball game tonight, but some of the stuff happening with NIL and the football game. But, you know, admittedly, guys, I mean, I'm doing my best to stay positive after the game. But, I mean, listen, you had that ball game. You had it in your grasp, and you could not finish the job. I mean, if you want to take it to that point, you know what I mean? So Carolina's up by 11 at one point. You feel like you're well in control, and you're not able to close it out. So that's obviously very frustrating. And I mean, you know, I think the long haul that this season, I think this team is poised to have a really good season, much better than I think we thought. You know, tonight it's frustrating, though. Tonight it's frustrating, especially when, guys, Carolina, it felt like, again, out of a 40-minute game, they controlled that game for, I mean, it felt like 30 minutes, 32 minutes of that game. South Carolina was in control, and give Clemson credit. They won the most important. I mean, that's the funny thing about basketball, guys, is like I sit there and watch a game like that, and there's no point in getting worked up or getting too high or too low, because in basketball, guys, it really comes down to like the final 10 minutes. It really comes down to the final 8 minutes. Like you go on a couple runs here and there, and like you're able to dig yourself out of whatever hole you're in and find a way. And then that's, you know, Clemson, I don't know that they played all that great until crunch time, and that's when it mattered. They found a way to win the game. So, guys, phone lines back open, 843-790-3377. Mike Morgan says you absolutely can't blow an 11-point lead. I mean, it's when you got a game in control like that. I think one of the biggest problems, guys, is nobody outside of Michi stepped up. Nobody outside of Michi stepped up, guys. 26 points for him. Outside of that, though, B.J. Mack had 10. Clark had 10. Nobody else in double digits. Talon Cooper had 5. Studi had 4. Studi went 1 of 8 from the field. Just not a lot of help from Ichi tonight.
Call from
Skylar Keller.
Skylar Keller, you're on the air.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
What's on your mind, Skylar?
So, I mean, we go back to the 11-point lead, with South Carolina being up. Lamont Paris, let's not forget. I mean, we hear all kinds of things. We want to critique certain things or whatnot about South Carolina men's basketball, and we have multiple games that we've already won. Right, we're undefeated up until tonight. So, Lamont Paris. Refer back to the season with Don Staley with last year's season with the women's basketball team. So they go undefeated. They lose the one game. I want people to remember this, like listening tonight, period, and beyond. We want to lose at least one game because people expect a W, right?
Right.
That's what they expect. So, does it suck to lose against Clemson? Absolutely. I mean, because here we just lost against, Clemson with our football team. And it seems like our women's basketball team is the only team who could sit there and win a damn game against Clemson. So we have a lot of wins ahead of us. I think Lamont Paris is the guy for the job. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. And I think that at the end of the day, I think that we still have a chance to win it all. And I don't think that a lot of people still put that forward with Lamont Paris. So we still have a lot of games, and I think that we could win them. I do think that there was a lot of crucial times to where we put our foot in our mouths. I mean, we should have won several games. You know what I mean? So being up 11 points and then still losing this game, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So as South Carolinians, I mean, this sucks. But we still need to remember that we still have the drive, we still have the courage, we still have the season ahead of us. And we go back to the women's basketball. Everybody wants to revolt right back to the women's basketball. I mean, Dawn Staley is a legend. She's done her thing, and she continues to do it. Lamont Paris is just getting started. So I just want fans, I just want all of us to remember it's just getting started. We have multiple games, weekends, weeks ahead of us, and let's keep riding.
I think very well said, my friend. Like you said, it's just getting started indeed. So very well said.
All right, go Gamecocks.
Hey, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for the call. Really good stuff. I think good perspective there. I mean, listen, it's year 2 of Lamont Paris. Nobody is excusing, the game tonight and not being, I mean, obviously be frustrated, right? It makes sense. Everybody's frustrated to lose that game, but he makes a good point from the standpoint of even me tonight, you watch that, and my biggest takeaways are, okay, this is a good basketball team. Those were 2 good teams, I thought. And again, that's not to say that I think South Carolina is going to go, finish top half of the SEC or anything, but it kind of feels like the bar was in hell after last year. This team looks so much better. Now, the big thing for South Carolina basketball is you just can't let that loss turn into 2. You can't let that carry over into the game against East Carolina, because you still have an opportunity to finish non-conference play, I believe 12-1 with 1 loss, which would be an incredible run through non-conference play. But again, guys, always tough to lose to your rival. And I mean, give Clemson credit, guys. They made the plays down the stretch, and South Carolina did not. And I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, that's really what happened. I mean, it's Clemson made the plays, Carolina didn't, bottom line. Guys, phone line's back open, 843-790-3377. I see we've got some Clemson folks in here. Ian Rowland, Jonathan Hall's in here. Justin Kyle's in here. He's not a Clemson guy, but either way, Justin Kyle's in here. Zach Gale's in here. David Jackson, Madison Duncan, appreciate all you tuning in. Appreciate y'all so much. Jonathan Hall, I don't know. You tell me. Did I pronounce it wrong? I have no idea. Either way, guys, going back through the stats, I thought South Carolina did a pretty good job of limiting P.J. Hall. I mean, he had 14 points, but, you know,
call from
was a total
Aiden.
team effort from Clemson.
Tick.
What's going on, man? You're on the air.
Hey Chris. I'm a Clemson fan, but just want to say y'all are one hell of a team. Y'all are gonna make a deep run in the tournament. I can tell. Y'all can improve so much from one of the worst teams in the SEC last year to probably maybe even top 8 now.
I hope you're right, Hayden. No, that was a great game. I mean, listen, I think Clemson's probably a tournament team this year. I think it's probably one of Brownell's best teams, if not his best team. I mean, that was, watching that as taking all the bias, all the phantom out of it, that was an objectively good basketball game between two good teams. And in that situation, a lot of times the home team wins. I mean, it's why I picked Clemson to win the game. I think it's just really hard to go on the road and win a rivalry game on the road. Clemson dealt with that last year against a bad South Carolina team and, felt like it would be a tall task for South Carolina to beat a good Clemson team on the road. So, especially when you haven't played on the road all season. And, of course, Clemson won at Alabama. They won at Pittsburgh. So they were battle-tested. And, kudos to Clemson. They made the plays down the stretch.
Yep. Pretty much.
So, but, man, I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much for calling in and good insight and perspective on the game, man.
Yep, thank you. Good Irish.
Take care. Appreciate it. I appreciate that. That's good. Hey, I want to hear from the other side. We want to hear from the opposing perspectives, the beauties and the banter. And, again, congratulations to Clemson on the win. Clemson earned that down the stretch. And, they earned it down the – I mean, that's all you can really say. I mean, Clemson was much more aggressive in the second half, outscored the Gamecocks 49-37. I was surprised how bad Clemson was offensively in that first half. Give credit to South Carolina defensively for the plays they made, but Clemson, I think the last 8 minutes or so of the first half went scoreless, went 0 for 9 from the field. Again, I thought at many times, even in the second half, that South Carolina was still in control. Every time it seemed like Clemson would chip away, South Carolina hit a big three or they'd make a play or something would happen. And it was kind of like finally the levee broke. You know what I mean? It just finally gave out. And in a night in which it felt like a pair of fighters going at it, Clemson had the last punch. And you got to give them credit for that. So, guys, phone lines are back open. Again, appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Juices NIL, stop it, Chris, before I ban you. Just calling it like I see it, man. I mean, again, I leave that game again, man. I'm optimistic for the Gamecocks and the Fighting Quarter Zips and what they can do this year. Missing free throws cost South Carolina greatly. You're absolutely right. BJ Mack, 3 of 13, only 7 boards in a game. Ian Rowland says you had to know the counter was coming, though. I mean, yeah, it normally does when you're playing a team at their place. It normally does. Admittedly, Ian and the other Clemson fans in here, watching that game, I was thinking to myself, because I don't think Clemson played their A game, right? I don't know that Clemson fans would say that. I mean, we've seen Clemson win at Bama, at Pitt, look really impressive offensively. That's why one of my biggest takeaways leaving this game is that Clemson's a really good team, because good teams find ways to win games on not their best nights against quality opponents. And I think South Carolina, I'm not saying the Gamecocks are a top 3 or 4 team in the SEC, but I think they're much, much higher quality than they were last year. And Clemson found a way to pull out a gritty win on the home floor when they were not their best. And that's a sign to me of a good team. I think Clemson's probably a tournament team, and I'm not trying to spin this call-in show heaping praise on Clemson, but I mean, you got to tip your cap. You got to give credit where credit's due. And, I think it's also giving credit to South Carolina. They didn't lose to a bad team. They didn't you know, it's not like they lost to some scrubs. You know what I mean? Like they went on the road, you know, took Clemson to the wire, and it just wasn't enough. I mean, the most disappointing thing again is that you had it in your grasp. South Carolina had it, and they could not finish it off. Austin Gregory says this: tonight was a reminder. It is okay to know you were low on a team coming into the season. However, recalibrating expectations off the first 7 games is not acceptable. Yeah, I mean, Austin, I mean, I think I even said when I gave my season predictions, admittedly, that I was being somewhat conservative because, you know, the reports on a lot of these transfers was high. It was positive, but I mean, realistically, after last year, it's like let's see it play out. You know what I mean? And even now, admittedly, Austin, everybody else, you know, 7-1, but first test, there's some encouraging things, but SEC play is just going to be difficult. There's just no other way to put it. It's going to be difficult. You're going to have to go back on the road. Like you're going to have to play in some hostile environment. It's going to be very, very tough. So, you know, admittedly, I'm still, you know, cautiously optimistic about South Carolina basketball, but it just looks different, right? I mean, it looks different. It's night and day different from last year. Justin Kyle, this team isn't finishing last in the conference. I would agree with you. I would agree with you. So Bill says, Chris, Clemson's probably a tournament team. South Carolina is clearly better. Unfortunately, this is coming off the mess of our football programs going through, and we needed this win. Yeah, Bill, it's funny. I think a lot of the frustrations of football are bleeding into talking about the basketball game, which is just, again, goes to show you how much football moves the needle truly for us all. Chuck Burkett says, student of the game, Chris, you nailed the 5-point defeat. I mean, I just felt like, Chuck, South Carolina would cover. I felt like they'd cover. So, you know, I picked a 5-point loss. It happened to be 5. You know, some late free throws helped that. It's crazy how good the guys in Vegas are, by the way. 139.5 was the over-under. 139 is what the total finished at. 139. So it's nuts. It's nuts how the guys in Vegas know. I was wondering if we were going to get a foul there late. I was wondering if we were going to get a foul there late to push it over, but we did not. So, let's see. Ruben Nation, if we win 20 games, I'll give Juice NIL $100. Eric Reese, yeah, here's a good point. Glad there's emotion involved in Gamecocks basketball again. Eric Reese, really good point. As sad as it sounds, just caring is a step in the right direction after last year, right? After last year where it's like, you know, it was pretty brutal. Let's see. Guys, phone lines are back open. We may take one more. If there's no more calls, that's totally fine. Again, like I mentioned, I did not think that this was going to have quite the same energy. Quite the same energy as a football call-in show, but still, a lot of good calls. I appreciate those that participated, those that called in the banter. John Rothstein, you guys probably all know who he is. John Rothstein said this on social media. There are no moral victories, but South Carolina showed something tonight in defeat on the road at Clemson. Gamecocks have enough to be a factor in the SEC. Tigers move to 8-0. So, John Rothstein even took notice, which, you know, I mean, like he said, there's no moral victories, but if you're looking at it from the grand scheme of things, the biggest thing for this team is, and we'll talk about it more on TDC, the biggest thing for this team, though, you got to respond the right way and go take care of VCU, right? You can't let the Clemson game beat you twice. You can't let a bad night turn into a bad trend of any kind, right? You got to get yourself off the mat, go out on Saturday, I believe it is, and take it out on East Carolina. So if they can do that, and I think South Carolina's got the team, the group of veterans to do so, but if they can do that, I think South Carolina will be fine. But, you know, and again, guys, in a game like this where you're on the road against your arch rival, you got to play, I'm not going to say a perfect game, but you got to play a really clean, crisp game. And sometimes that's not even enough. And South Carolina just made some costly mistakes down the stretch that Clemson was able to, at home, with their crowd behind them, take advantage of. So let's jump to the phone lines here. One more call.
Skylar Keller.
Skylar Keller, what's up, man? You're on the air.
Hey, man. Yeah, I know I just spoke a little bit ago, but I still had to call back in because I still have some questions. I mean, I know this is more about basketball, but can we talk about football?
We can talk about whatever you like, man. Yeah, we can definitely talk football.
All right. So what about Mario Anderson?
Apparently they are still trying to work something out behind closed doors. If I were Shane Beamer, admittedly, maybe this is like TDC after dark, but if I were Shane Beamer, I would tell Mario Anderson to kick rocks and worry about getting Rocket Sanders or the Cheney kid from Miami or KZ Adams from Georgia State or just any of the guys who are available. So that's personally, that's what I would do. I think, I don't know though, man. I think I don't know that you enter the portal if you're not going to go. I mean, kids can change their mind. We have no idea, but the latest we know is he's going to enter the portal. So if something changes, we'll see. But I'm right there with you, kind of just following along and hanging on for dear life.
So I want to jump into some of your calls and stuff. So I work from home a lot. I run a fire protection business. So I sit there and listen to a lot of your shows or whatnot. And I want to jump in several times. I just don't have the time to do it very often. It's actually my first time actually getting on tonight.
I appreciate it, man. Great to have you.
Yeah. But during the football season, you know, I know you're on all the time. I follow you on Twitter and stuff like that, or X, what it is now.
Oh, yeah.
And so one of my biggest questions that I've seen, because right now, obviously, you know, we are freaking losing people left and right in the transfer portal. And I guess one of the biggest questions is we're completely confused as to why Shane Beamer hasn't made any type of staff change, you know, coordinators, offensive, anything. Like, what's your take on that again? Because, I mean, I'm just completely confused. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Clayton White. I don't think that we should lose him. I like Clayton. I don't know about the whole Logan, you know, Loggins, however you want to pronounce it. But what is your take on that? I mean, I just don't get it.
You know, I think staff changes are coming. We actually talked about this pretty in depth on the show yesterday, but I do think the changes are coming. When they're coming, I think more than likely, I think Shane Beamer's going to wait after the signing day. I would not be surprised if Shane Beamer waited until early January. A lot of these guys, a couple of these guys, their contracts run through the end of the year. You know, the changes I think should be made. I think Clayton White should get the axe. I think Montario Hardesty absolutely should get the axe. I'd have no problem seeing there be a change at the leadership and strength and conditioning.
Oh yeah, that's an absolute.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think, and this is just my guess. You know, Shane Beamer's on the road right now recruiting, and he's posting on social media. He doesn't seem all that concerned with making staff changes. So I think that's something that's going to happen early January after the signing period or what have you, the signing day, which is on December the 20th after that passes. But I mean, I know that's not the answer people want to hear, right? Because people want change now and they want to see some action being taken place. And I get it, man. It's frustrating. I mean, this new day and age of college football where, you know, guys are just up and leaving, and you got the Juice Wells thing, and he's getting his hair cut at the facility, and it's just a mess. I mean, I totally get the frustration, man, but I think there will be changes. I'd be stunned if the staff stayed as is going into spring practice.
And see, and that's kind of like what I look at it. Is I understand he's out recruiting, and don't get me wrong, I just want to advocate for my household. We're my lady graduated from USC, and one of the biggest things I saw today actually on X, Lane Kiffin took a picture of a damn Carolina golf cart. In South Carolina.
Yeah, so he was actually people were wondering what that was. Based off my understanding, Lane Kiffin was in town visiting the facility, visiting Juice Wells. So apparently Juice Wells to Ole Miss is a possibility. So that was a real thing, and that's why that's why that picture was posted.
And see, that's kind of like what my biggest feeling was. I figured that's exactly what it was, you know, because obviously Juice Wells, I mean, we all looked all year long. I mean, for God's sakes, I mean, here he was at the end of the season going Twitter heck crazy. And then turning around and just like being like, okay, fuck you, Gamecocks. I mean, I'm just going to go on about doing my own thing and kind of let this in the dark or whatnot. But I mean, that's another topic for another day. But I mean, it's frustrating. I mean, as Gamecocks, as South Carolinians, I mean, obviously we're true Gamecocks. I mean, we love University of South Carolina. But I do have another question when it comes into the quarterback role. Obviously, we know Spencer's, you know, doing his thing, and we really appreciate him because I think he did a phenomenal job. It was a struggle the first year in 21. I think he did decent last year. I mean, he finished well. Lenora Sellers. He seemed to be sneaky at sometimes. Obviously, you know, Shane Beamer's made in the post-game conference. You know, yeah, he wasn't supposed to sit there and do that, but a run 36-yard touchdown. Do you think that with Luke Doty coming back, do you think he's going to dive in to get another quarterback by chance?
So I think South Carolina, and this comes from my good buddy Brad Crawford of 24/7 Sports, I think the Gamecocks will add potentially multiple quarterbacks out of the portal. Now, I don't think they're going to add guys necessarily to come in and start. I think they're really comfortable with Lenora Sellers being the guy. I think Luke Doty at this point, I think he's a wide receiver. I really do. I don't know, man. I just don't see it. I don't see Luke Doty being much of a factor in the quarterback competition. You never know. I will say this. I think the Gamecocks add at least one quarterback out of the portal. Yeah, I think adding a veteran guy for competitive depth. But I don't think they're going to go out there and get like a starter. So I don't know that you're really going to see South going to be all that active. If you're following along with the portal, which it sounds like you are, you know that the asking price for these quarterbacks, if you're getting starters, they are very expensive. So you're not getting those guys that just come in and compete. They're going somewhere to play. So anyways, all that being said, I think you'll see South Carolina pick up a quarterback or two. I don't know that it's really going to be, though, to like take the job or anything. I think they're confident in moving forward with Lenora Sellers.
Okay, and so I don't know how much time you got. Are we good? Or
yeah, we're good. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so obviously we struggled against our offensive line. We all know that this season. There's probably at least two games that we come close. Well, one game against Florida we should not have lost. Being up 10 points in the final moments, and then plus against Texas A&M, we had the opportunity to win the football game. So with the offensive line and our runner back situation, what do you see? I mean, because I don't necessarily I understand we got so much more ahead of us. I mean, obviously it's the end of the season. We've got so much more time ahead of us. I mean, looking at it from where we are right now, I mean, do you see, because I'm looking at the 2024 prospect as of right now. We're at ranked 19 nationally?
Yeah.
So what do you see? I mean, him going after and what the hell are we looking at? I mean, what do we expect? I mean, what should we be looking for? I mean, because obviously it's not working, even with having an offensive line like we've had this year. I mean, coming into this season, we were expecting to see a little bit more with Shane Beamer, a little bit better offensive line. You know what I mean? We should have had a better offensive line protecting our quarterback, who should have freaking succeeded very well this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were misses in the portal last year that caused the offensive line to struggle. A couple of those guys they went and got for the FCS level that just did not pan out and did not contribute. You then saw them had to lean on youngsters, guys like Trovon Bowe, Jatavius Shivers, Marquis Anderson before he got hurt, Big Tree Babalade at the tackle spot. And I think those guys played well. I mean, I think when it comes to the offensive line, man, you like to build through the portal if you can. But I think a lot of that is going to be recruiting. I mean, they've got Cam Pringle coming in, Josiah Thompson coming in. They've got some big-time dudes that are coming in. And So the portal should, or excuse the portal, the offensive line should take a big step forward next year. I mean, granted, it can't be much worse than it was this past season, but I think the O-line will come along. Carolina has just got to worry about going out and getting, some capable running backs to run behind that group. And but certainly the offensive line was South Carolina's undoing. And, again, if you can go add 2 or 3 Power 5 contributors in the offensive line, mix that with the youth you have, mix that, the very talented youth, I should say, mix that with the veterans you do have coming back. I think Jalen Nichols probably returns. I think Vershawn Lee will probably return. So there will be some pieces there, and the offensive line should be in a position to take a step forward. You would like to think so. My friend, I appreciate the call, man. We are gonna run. We're gonna get a couple more, and then we're gonna jump out of here. But dude, I appreciate it. Hey, if you want to call back in, man.
Go Gamecocks.
Yeah, go Gamecocks. We do this every single day, noon to 2. So be sure to give us a call back, man. We'll talk some football. I appreciate you. Really good stuff, guys. Again, that just kind of goes to show you that the convo switches to football as we wind down here on the A1 Air Quality Consultants post-game call-in show. Gamecocks fall to the Clemson Tigers 72-67. I see the Clemson fans in here talking trash. Clemson owns USC. I get it. Clemson earned it. Clemson earned it, and can't take it away from them, man. I mean, listen, Clemson made those plays down the stretch, like I mentioned, and South Carolina did not. And I think, obviously, being at Littlejohn Coliseum was a big difference maker in the ball game. I think South Carolina still the future is bright of this season. I think this team is obviously night and day different from last year, but I think there were some things. Obviously, Michie Johnson kind of being a one-man show tonight. Clemson had the advantage down low. I thought they were much more well-rounded as a basketball team, and again, they cut it on late when they had to and made the big plays. And it's unfortunate because South Carolina had it in their grasp. We're not able to capitalize, but give Clemson a lot of credit. Tip the cap, man. They were really good when it counted. So, and outside of that, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Again, guys, appreciate you all tuning in. Be sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube, by the way. Hit the bell icon so you get notifications when we go live. We drop new video content as well. Thank you so much to all those that called in. Bill, I see your comment. Thank you so much, Bill, and everybody else who called in. Thank you all so much for the banter, the discussion, the comments, whether it be on YouTube, it be on Facebook, it be on X, it be in our Discord, whatever it might be. Truly do appreciate each and every single one of you guys. We drop daily podcasts as well. This will drop via podcast form tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. Eastern. On my morning birds out there, you'll hear this first thing in the morning. If you want to go back and listen to anything that took place, into the conversation, if you will. And, of course, follow us on social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you get your content. We are there at the Spurs Up Show. Guys, appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your Wednesday night, and we will talk to you all tomorrow.